Good morning, everyone. My name is Blake Heinrichs. My pronouns are he, him, and I am honored to serve as your volunteer host today. Whether you're a longtime member or visiting for the first time, welcome to the Ethical Society of St. Louis. We're glad you're here. The Ethical Society of St. Louis is a humanist congregation where people come together to explore big questions, inspire ethical living, and work towards a more just and compassionate world. Each Sunday, we gather in community to reflect, connect, and renew our commitment to those shared values. Before we begin, please take a moment to silence your devices or switch them to Do Not Disturb or Airplane Mode so we can stay present together. Thank you for being here today and for being a part of this community of thought, care, and action. I'm excited to introduce you today to our musician, our very own Claire Alexander. Claire is a musician, educator, and administrator who now serves as the Executive Director of Community Experience here at Ethical Society. She grew up in a deeply musical family before studying music education and directing choirs for the last 15 years. These days, her to-do list may be more full of spreadsheets and strategy, but music remains one of Claire's deepest sources of joy and connection. Please help me welcome Claire for her first song, Keep Marching, from the musical Suffs.
Good morning, everybody. You won't live to see the future that you fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day. If the work is never over, then how do you keep marching anyway? There you go. Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn girl picks it up in a picket line over and over again, and you join in the chorus of centuries chanting to her? The path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know, but keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. And remember every mother that you came from. Learn as much from our success as our mistakes. Don't forget you're merely one of many others on the journey every generation makes. We did not end injustice, and neither will you, but still we made strides, so we know you can too. Make peace with our incomplete power and use it for good, 'cause there's so much to do. The gains will feel small and the losses too large, but keep marching, keep marching. You'll rarely agree with whoever's in charge, but keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on.
Thank you for that, Claire. That was phenomenal and very poignant. So, each week we read the Ethical Education for Youth core values as a way to bring us together and remind us of our shared commitments. Since Seek is on summer break, I will be reading the core values today. Every person is important and unique. Every person deserves to be treated fairly and kindly. We can learn from everyone. We are a part of this earth. We cherish it and all the life upon it. We learn from the world around us by using our senses, mind, and feelings. We are members of the world community, which depends on the cooperation of all people for peace and justice. We can learn from the past to build for the future. We are free to question. We are free to choose what we believe. We accept responsibility for our choices and actions. We strive to live our values. It is now time for opening words, a chance to hear directly from one of our fellow Ethical Society members. Each week, a member of our community shares something meaningful to them, a story, reflection, experience, or interest. It's one of the ways we deepen our connections and learn more about one another as individuals. Please join me in welcoming Brenda Otterson.
Wow, there's a lot of you. Good morning. Hi, my name is Brenda Otterson. I will attempt to answer to whatever pronouns you select in 6 languages, but I tend to prefer English or Spanish. I give enormous credit to Carol Beer, wherever she is, for getting me past help, why did I volunteer, and then denial, to maybe I can do this introduction today. I was born in Brunswick, Maine, 80 years ago, 1944. I'm not just older than the internet, I'm older than fluoride, penicillin, and vaccinations, except smallpox. I had whooping cough, pertussis, before I could even sit up. Later, chickenpox, measles, mumps twice, and German measles twice. I've had 6 eye surgeries. My father was a US Navy pilot, eventually a commander. By the time I started first grade, I had already lived in Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Key West, Florida, Seattle, Washington, and Sunnyvale, California. Pretty much the 4 corners of the country. Then came schools in Oklahoma, 2, Texas, Maine again, 2, and high schools in Colorado and Connecticut, where I graduated. Other college-aged military dependents had family they could stay with stateside. That would not work for my elderly grandparents in Veneta and Pond Creek, Oklahoma. Not very big. So I next enrolled at the University of Madrid, Spain at age 17 with a couple years of high school Spanish and having only ever spent 1 night away from home. My parents, brother, and sister were a 14-and-a-half-hour train ride south on a Spanish Navy base. Parents worried about my university life under Generalissimo Francisco Franco, the dictator, and whether credits would transfer. They did. So the next 2 years, I studied at a branch campus of the University of Maryland in Munich, Germany. My professors were former translators for the International Military Tribunal known as the Nuremberg War Trials. My dorm was Hitler's former officers' headquarters, complete with 2 sub-basements. One was used to dry laundry and store luggage and bicycles. The second, that was found that first year, contained 2 fully armed German tanks. Dad's next orders were to McDonnell Douglas, St. Louis. MATS, you've seen the big sign, probably. It's Military Air Transport Service, overseas shipping crates. They arrived with 9 inches of water inside from sitting on a railroad siding. I did a wild sort, pitch, and repack and left within a week for The Ohio State University. After graduation, marriage, and I restarted the naval flight training cycle. Corpus Christi, Texas, had a baby there. Pensacola and Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Norfolk, Virginia, Lexington Park, Maryland, and Topsham, Maine, and Brunswick, Maine. Then came Iceland, Maine, Italy, Maine, Kent, Ohio, grad school and teaching college and middle school and Montessori, German and Spanish. Then St. Louis for 3 weeks to have another daughter before moving, that's 3 weeks, before moving alone with the 5-year-old and 3-week-old to Germany due to his Fulbright scholarship this time, back to Ohio, then 3 moves to and in Minnesota, Duluth and the Twin Cities. I taught Spanish at the University of Wisconsin-Superior and ran refugee resettlement programs for 6 different church agencies over the years, and eventually put my ex through his 2nd graduate degree in seminary. He had an affair, dumped me, moved to Russia, married our older daughter's former roommate, and then returned with her to Minnesota. Wanted to move in. The younger daughter, bilingual in German, soloed a Civil Air Patrol plane at age 16, graduated from college, then, instead of attending med school, developed schizoaffective disorder. Old meds did, and then new meds didn't work, and she committed suicide at age 31 in 2006. Nothing ever prepares you to bury your own child. Her older sister, master's in internet strategy management, bilingual in Russian, that's another story, successfully survived malaria and cancer, handles the web and all the media for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and lives in a replica of the Alamo in Scandia, Minnesota. Yeah, it really is. I came to St. Louis in 2009 to care for my mother until she died. I was still dealing with her death and my sister suing me over the family trust when I somewhat accidentally met John Whittier. But that's still another story. Carol, I think I've managed to answer 2 of your very helpful 22-question guide. P.S. I figure that's 10 public schools in 7 states, plus 6 universities in 3 countries, about 33 houses in 5 countries, and 80 years in 4 minutes. Home is wherever I'm unpacked.
Thank you so much for sharing, Emily. That was a fantastic story with a lot of ups and downs, and great to know you a little bit better. So, I'll make sure I didn't miss one. Please join me in welcoming Claire Alexander back to the stage for her 2nd musical selection, Bread and Roses.
Decade ago. Ooh, hot mic, hot mic. About a decade ago, I was directing Charis, the St. Louis Women's Chorus here, before moving to Michigan and Chicago for a little bit. Not as extensive as Brenda's history, but, and we did a concert called Women Rising, and it was based off the lyrics of this tune. So I thought, why don't I brush it off and perform it on Sunday, because our main speaker today is representing an organization that also based their name off of this song. And in this past week, I realized I did not sing the song. I directed 50 other people in singing the song. But it was pretty fun to prep for you today. As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle too for kin, for all are bound together through losses and through wins. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us as we go marching, marching. sharing of life's glories. Bread and roses, bread and roses.
Wonderful. Get a little taste of the platform before the platform. Thank you so much again, Claire. Before our main address, we like to take a moment to still our minds, relax our bodies, and take some mindful deep breaths. Please join me for 1 minute of mindful breathing. Thank you very much. Our speaker today is Emily Kohring, Executive Director of Bread and Roses, Missouri, a St. Louis-based arts organization that uplifts the voices of working people through art, performance, and activism. With a background in theater directing, education, and arts leadership, Emily has spent her career exploring how the arts can be a powerful force for healing, justice, and change. This morning, she'll share with us how creative expression can transform lives and how organizations like Bread and Roses are keeping the stories of workers and the labor movement alive through art. Please join me in welcoming Emily Kohring.
Good morning, everybody. Put this down. Just need a second to put my reading glasses on so I can see all of you. Claire, that was such a beautiful rendition of our theme song. And I didn't know that that was happening this morning, and so that was just a beautiful surprise. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here today to speak to you, and I'm going to start with a quote because I love quotes, and this is one that's on my desktop, and it's a bit of a mantra for me right now when I get up every day to try to move the work of my organization forward, and it's Toni Morrison, who says, "This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. This is how civilizations heal." I love that quote, and it's motivating on the days when I'm sure we've all had lately where we would just rather pull the covers over our head and stay in bed and not listen to the news. So I'm here to talk to you today about Bread and Roses, Missouri, which is an organization that I am the executive director of. It's kind of a little bit of an interesting story how I even got here to speak today, because on May 16th, a tornado hit St. Louis, as we all know, and a tornado hit our building, which is in the Service Employees International Union building on Pershing. And so on Monday morning, the 19th, I guess, I couldn't go to my office, and so I decided to go up to a daycare up on North Broadway where they were organizing the early childhood response to the tornado, and I met Natalie, who is a member here, and we went together to Sam's Club to buy diapers, and we got into a really great conversation, which wound up with me getting an invitation to speak here, and I'm really grateful for that. Sometimes, it's just St. Louis is a small town, and where you end up is always interesting. Our mission at Bread and Roses, Missouri, is unique among arts organizations. We amplify and elevate the stories of working people through art, performance, and activism. We believe that cultural and creative expression are a means to effect deep and lasting change. So that's what I get up every day for, in service to that mission. And clicker. Oh, I'm not supposed to point it this way, I was told. It doesn't go this way, it goes this way. I've been with Bread and Roses since 2002. I've had a really windy career in the arts. I have an undergraduate in theater and an MFA in theater for youth, and I went to Arizona State University specifically for their Theater for Youth program, and also to study the theater of the oppressed, which I can tell you more about during a coffee time, or because that's another long story. But I also worked. As I came out of graduate school, I met Carol North, who was then the artistic director of Metro Theater Company, who wound up inviting me to have an internship, which turned into a job. And for 9 years, I worked at Metro Theater Company. And then sabbatical and wound up at Bread and Roses. So one thread through my whole career in the arts is that the belief that the arts are a powerful tool to create social change and to build community. So since 2002, I've been at Bread and Roses, and as we heard in that beautiful rendition of the song comes from the early 20th century labor and feminist movement. A woman named Helen M. Todd wrote an article in American Magazine sharing a woman's desire for bread and flowers, which she later revised to bread for all and roses too, symbolizing bread meaning home, security, and roses meaning the finer aspects of life, like music, art, education, theater, the things that make life beautiful. And this inspired a poem by James Oppenheimer called Bread and Roses that became the hymn, Bread and Roses. And most notably, there was a Bread and Roses strike in Lawrence, Massachusetts from January to March 1912, where textile workers, mostly women and immigrants, successfully had a strike for better pay and workers' protections. And that is where we derive our name of our organization, Bread and Roses, Missouri. I was gonna play the song. There's a great rendition by Judy Collins, but I don't need to because we already heard the beautiful song. But there are a million on YouTube, wonderful ones. And it's a song that is often heard in our productions, usually at the end of the production too. So Bread and Roses began with Joan Suarez. She is a labor organizer and activist and a legend to many people, including me. And as the origin story of more than one arts organization that's social justice oriented in this city, she was a fellow of the Community Arts Training Institute run by the Regional Arts Commission, and I am also a fellow of the Community Arts Training Institute. And with two other artists, she conceived the idea for Bread and Roses, Missouri, which started with a youth arts program to use the arts to teach young people about the labor movement and social justice in Riverview Gardens School District. And this was in the early, I believe, 2010s. And then she worked with Missouri Jobs with Justice and made Bread and Roses a program under the umbrella of Missouri Jobs with Justice to use the arts to educate about the movement. But in 2015, Bread and Roses moved out from under the umbrella of Missouri Jobs with Justice and became its own 501c3 organization in 2015. And we were born. It's our 10th anniversary season this year. Yeah, that's, not all of us make it to 10. And the youth initiative has grown exponentially, and then we have also added the Workers Theater Project, which I am mostly going to talk about today. These are our core values, which it was interesting to read the Ethical Society's core values too, which I did as I was preparing my speech to see there's a lot of interaction between the values, and we live our values. That's one of the things I love about Bread and Roses is we live our values. We're very tied to our values, which are art as action, not just art for art's sake, but art as a call to action. Creativity for all people. All people deserve access to creative opportunities. Connectivity and community. The dignity of labor, all labor, no matter what the labor is. Economic equity is very important to us. Empowerment and racial justice. One thing we say at Bread and Roses is that art is labor and deserves to be compensated. So we are also very proud that, thank you. Anytime someone does labor for Bread and Roses, they get paid. And we pay over 60 artists a year for the labor that they offer to us. I'm going to talk just really briefly about our youth initiative, and it deserves its own 20-minute talk because I am just so proud of the work we do in the youth initiative. But it grew from Riverview Gardens to 7 sites in St. Louis City at the city recreation centers to now 16 sites in 2025 in the city and the county, thanks to funding from the St. Louis County Children's Services Fund. We have over 20 teaching artists who work in our youth initiative to teach 600 young people, and they get free arts workshops, all of them free. The youth initiative kind of peaks in the summer for us, where we spread out to recreation centers, libraries, community centers, so that the youth get to make art with professional artists. They explore healthy choices for their body and their mind through art making, and they learn how artists use art as a tool for change, and they're introduced to artists who are activists as they make really cool art and a lot of murals. We love mural making with our youth because it's a community activity they can do together, and then it's something that remains in the space where they are, that they can always look at and be proud that they had a part of. But I would love to talk to you more about our youth initiative after this, but I'm going to talk mostly about the Workers' Theater Project. So theater significantly influenced the labor movement during the 20s and 30s by amplifying workers' voices and promoting social justice. The workers' theater movement used popular performance styles to educate the public and connect with working class audiences, and key aspects of it included raising consciousness. It dramatized workers' struggles to encourage collective action. Community building. It fostered solidarity and shared identity among workers. Disseminating information, educating about labor issues and movement strategies, and then reaching a wide audience. It engaged those outside the active labor movement. The tradition faded out, but we're trying to bring it back through our Workers' Theater Project, and we are, with very few exceptions, one of the very few organizations in the country that focuses on workers as our audience, and also our participants too. There's another theater company, the Working Theater in New York City, who also is kindred spirits to us. There may be others, but I haven't found them yet, so I hope someone proves me wrong, but not very many people do the work that we're doing. And you know, one of the, whoops, this way. Oh no, oh, there we go. One of the questions like you can think on in your own mind is, where are working class people represented in our popular culture and art? I believe they are greatly underrepresented, and just think for a minute about where you see them. Where do you see them accurately depicted without being caricatured? And how many times have you been to the theater, been to live theater, and seen working people's stories on stage versus the number of times you go and you see stories of upper class wealthy people depicted on stage? And I would say that's especially true of our mainstream theaters. So we're one of the few theaters in the country where we put the focus, all of the focus, on working class people to tell working class stories. And one of the ways we do this in our, I would say our keystone program is the Workers' Opera. So some of you may have seen the Workers' Opera. There have been 6 or 7 over the years since 2015. What is a Workers' Opera? And the first thing I have to tell you is it's not an opera in the strict sense of like when you go to opera theater, you see an opera, right? It is our signature program. It's an original performance for workers, about workers, and by workers. But it is applied theater, which is a form of theater that was created with non-traditional performers in non-traditional spaces, performed by a community that is experiencing a hardship. It is almost always original content the performers create themselves, and that's what happens in our Workers' Opera. It was the first production of what we call our Workers' Theater Project, and it continues to be produced almost annually. We had, of course, a pause during the pandemic, but we've had one since 2022. We've had one pretty much annually, but it's not an opera. It's songs, sketches, stories, comedy pieces, and poetry that's created and performed by workers for workers. The workers are led by a professional director and a professional writer that we hire, and past artists, theater artists, you might recognize some of these names. Agnes Wilcox and Freeman Word did the first Workers' Opera. Colin McLaughlin and Catherine Bentley, Mariah Richardson and Delaney Piggins, who now works at the Rep. They have been leaders of our process, but the 8 to 12 cast members are largely non-professional actors. They are working people. Some are union members. Some are low-wage workers. Once in a while, we have an actor in there, but we had an actor there whose full-time job was at Home Depot, and he got to do his professional gigs on the side. Some of them have returned multiple times to participate, and some of them have never been on stage. I recall we had a gentleman in the Workers' Opera, John Antonich, and how we put an ad in the Labor Tribune recruiting actors for the Workers' Opera, and he called me, and I didn't know him, and he said, well, I read this ad in the Labor Tribune, and my kids really like music, and they're musicians, and they play instruments, and I've never done anything like this before, but I think I'd like to give it a try. John's in his 70s. He's retired from the Meat Cutters Union, had never been on stage before, and then was in more than one Workers' Opera after that. And those are my favorite stories of how people who didn't think of themselves as actors or creative people just decided they would give it a try. And then it becomes just a formative experience for them too, to be in this creative community and make something that says something about them. The content is determined by the group and what they're interested in talking about. There's no audition. If you want to participate, we find a way. And there's been a couple times, one particular Workers' Opera that I'm going to talk about in a minute, I thought we didn't have the budget, and I was like, oh, we're only going to have 8 people. But like 4 rehearsals in a row, someone brought a friend or a relative to them, with them to rehearsal, and said, well, they really want to participate. And we found a way. So we found a way because we don't want to say no to people who want to come and have this creative experience. And everyone gets paid who's in the Workers' Opera too. They get paid for their time in rehearsal, they get paid for performances, because like I said, art is labor. People who are in the Workers' Opera, most of them are working full-time jobs and then coming to rehearsal and giving their time to create something, and that should be compensated. The Workers' Opera is always in non-traditional spaces. Sometimes it's in a theater. Once in a while we're in a theater. But more often we're found in churches, community centers, union halls, places like the Ethical Society. And that's by design, because we want to reach working class people, and if we're only in a formal theater, we're not going to. Because some people are intimidated by the idea of coming to a formal theater, and they think it's not for them and they're not going to come. But if we perform at their union hall, they'll be there. Or their faith community, they'll be there. I'm going to show just, oh my gosh, time goes so fast. I want to show this. I'm just going to show a little short part of it. This is Maybe just the first 2 minutes, and then we'll just have to cut it off. Oh, okay. Well, I'll just tell you, there is a 20-minute documentary about the 2022 Workers' Opera, and it's on our YouTube channel, which is at Bread and Roses Mo. And so you can go and watch it. What I love about it is it's a behind-the-scenes look at the Workers' Opera. It's really hard to capture a performance on video, but what I love about this documentary we made is it captures how it's made, how the Workers' Opera is made, which is just as fascinating to me personally as watching the performance, because that's where the good stuff happens. That's where the community is built. That's where the stories are told. That's where people come together and explore and fail and try things and fail and then succeed. And that's, to me, that's the story of why we would want to bring a group of 8 to 12 people who mostly don't have a lot of acting experience together to make something cool. So I would totally encourage you, if you're interested, to go on our YouTube channel and watch this documentary. It's a really interesting glimpse into this process. Oh, sorry. I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Because I'm not paying attention. Okay, here I go. In 2023, we were approached by the Missouri Workers Center, and they told us that they were working with the Amazon STL 8 organizing committee in St. Peter's, who those workers continue to organize the warehouse to gain better pay and to gain workplace safety too, which is a huge issue for them. And they asked if we would want to work with their workers and do a workers' opera, and we jumped on that. We said absolutely yes. So we did some story circles with their workers where the STL8 members came and just told us stories. And then we asked if anyone would want to be in the workers' opera, and we wound up having 5 of the workers say, yes, I would like to do the workers' opera, and we supplemented it with other people who didn't work at Amazon but wanted to do the workers' opera. And those people, most of them had done one before, so we had some seasoned workers' opera veterans with our Amazon workers, and our entire show focused around the safety issues largely in the Amazon warehouses and why they were trying to organize. We did it at the Communication Workers of America 6300 Hall in Maryland Heights. The Workers Center folks supported us. Their organizers got the Amazon workers to every rehearsal. They drove them home afterwards. They were incredibly supportive of the workers through the process. And, you know, most of them had never, I think the 5 workers, none of them had really been on stage before, besides maybe a high school production that they might have been in. And so we did that workers' opera. It was live streamed on Facebook by the Workers Center, so people all over the country were watching. We had several hundred people watch online in addition to coming to it. And you can see we didn't pull any punches about who we were talking about or who the target was for the ire of the workers. We also we had posters in there of Musk and one other supervillain too. I can't even remember right now. At least one. So, gosh, my time's up already. I'll just go. Oops, wrong way. Our last year's Workers' Opera, we were asked to celebrate with Missouri Jobs with Justice, their 25 years and their 25 years of victories for workers. So we did that one last year. We also talked about the 2 ballot initiatives in the Workers' Opera. We did sketches about each one of them, Abortion Rights Amendment 3 and Paid Sick Leave and the Minimum Wage Initiative. We did not, and it was education. We do not tell people how to vote, but we do educate on the issues. And as you know, Prop A was just overturned by the legislature and our governor, so I have a feeling we may be reviving that one in the near future. So, you know, in addition to educating the audience, the impact the Workers' Opera has on the individual workers who participate, I think can be really profound. in a state where 58% of voters, their will was just ignored by the legislature and the governor. The opportunity to have your story and your concerns actually heard is really empowering on stage. This is Miss Georgia. I think she's been in every workers' opera, I believe. She was an SEIU member and a shop steward. She is a delight if you know her. She is hilarious. She loves being in the workers' opera. And I love this quote. She said, "We speak with the voices of our ancestors. Our voice is our weapon is our voice." One of our members, Michael Paplanis, who's also now on our board at Bread and Roses, not only started acting, he was in the workers' opera, then he started doing other gigs professionally. He's been in shows with our partners at Call to Conscience. He just has the acting bug, and it's wonderful to see, and also is a playwright now because he just had his play produced in our Social Justice Shorts Festival. So he, just watching these people find their creative selves is, for me, the best part of getting to watch this whole process and help put it together. This is Monica. Monica's a beautiful singer. She has an incredible voice. Sings in her church, sings with her sisters in church, but hadn't done much acting. She joined our workers' opera in 2022, and she's one of the stories of after like 2 or 3 rehearsals, she came up to me and said, my husband, Theodis, he gives me a ride here every day, and he was wondering if he could just come join us. So I said, yes, of course. And so Monica and Theodis were in 2. Monica's been in 3, and Theodis has been in 2 workers' operas now. The workers' opera is like therapy for me. It gives me the balance I need to be able to use my creative gift and connect with social issues in my community. She actually, we awakened the activist in her because she lived in the Heritage House downtown, which before they had the disaster of the building flooding during a cold snap and all of them being evicted, she had been helping to organize the tenants, and she continued to organize and be a spokesman for them as they were evicted from the Heritage House. So she said that the workers' opera, being involved in it, helped empower her to be able to be a leader in their organizing movement. And this is just a tiny bit. I'm just gonna play a little bit. Oh, we don't have sound though, right? Darn. Oh, we do. Can you hear? That was last year's workers' opera. And one of the things about the performances of the workers' opera too, and particularly in this last one, is we talk about such serious things and such serious issues for working class people, like abortion rights and the minimum wage and how hard it is to live on low wage salary in this country and pay your rent. But there's also so much joy and so much spirit in what you see on stage. And in that performance in particular, it was the audience felt joyful, the performance felt joyful, and it was just a wonderful thing to witness. I'm going to briefly, because I'm almost out of time, I know, I'm just going to talk about the other thing we do in the Workers Theater Project, which is new plays about the labor movement that tell the history of the labor movement. And we've done several, and we have one coming up too. This was the first one we did in 2018 called Jailbird. It was about the organizer Eugene Debs and his run for president from a prison cell. And it was performed at the Missouri History Museum, which is a great partner for us. This play, Mrs. Palmer's Honey, by Cassandra Medley, was based on a book by Fannie Cook. And it was about black workers in St. Louis who organized to demand good, high-paying jobs in munitions factories during World War II. It's a work of fiction, and it had kind of been forgotten, but Joan Suarez found it and read it and then commissioned the play. It was supposed to be performed in a full production, but the pandemic happened. So someone had the great idea to make it a radio play, and it is an 8-part radio play. It premiered on KDHX, but you can find it on Spotify, and it has some of the best actors in St. Louis. in it, and it's really well done. So if you want to hear Mrs. Palmer's Honey, you can go on Spotify and find it. We did this play in 2023, and I have to acknowledge Jennifer Lynn took these wonderful pictures, and she is in the audience today. Took incredible production photos of 1877, which was about the general strike of 1877 that happened in St. Louis. And not only did it tell the story of one of the only general strikes in our country's history, the events of the strike are also the origin of the Veiled Prophet organization. And what happened in 1877 still resonates in St. Louis and its deep racial divides. And we are really proud to put that play on stage. And I do not have time to show you this video, which is just the opening of the show, that had music. Most of our shows have music too, because music is such an important part of movement and the labor movement and the civil rights movement. And so we almost always have music in our productions, whether it's the Workers' Opera or Workers' Theater Project. And this is coming next. Oh, this is something we did last year, the Caregiving Project, where we told the story of St. Louis caregivers, both paid and unpaid, in a commissioned production. We commissioned Mariah Richardson, and we got our first grant from the National Endowment for the Arts in Better Times, and that was huge for us. We just did Social Justice Shorts, it closed in early June, where we commissioned playwrights we invited playwrights from all over the country to send us their 10-minute play about social justice. And we thought this year we might get like 80 or 90, and we got 180. And we picked 19 and did them over 2 bills. 5 of the playwrights were from St. Louis, and the rest of them were from everywhere. And we do this as a co-production with the Call to Conscience, which is another social justice-oriented, Black-led theater. Fanny Bell Levy is the artistic director, and she is a wonderful partner in putting on this festival, which we hope to do again next year. But before that, whoops. Wait, back one? Wait, nope. No, there's one missing. Oh, I skipped that one, I'm sorry. This is what we have coming up, and I actually invite all of you on August 16th at 3 o'clock at the First Unitarian Church at Kings Highway in Waterman. We'll do a reading of our new play, A Brick and a Bible, which is about the Funston Nutpicker strike that happened in the 30s in St. Louis. It was led by Black women, where they struck at 5 nut factories, and they were successful, too. They won their struggle. We want to tell this story. We have a stellar team of Colin McLaughlin and Catherine Bentley who are writing the script, and music by Alicia Revay, who I understand has performed here, too, at the Ethical Society. It's really important for us to have an audience on August 16th that's going to hear the play, and then we're going to invite them to give us feedback as we develop the play for production in February 2026 at the Missouri History Museum. So please join us at 3 o'clock if you like. Now I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to mention really quick some of our challenges, because as a social justice arts organization, since, January 20th of 2025, we've had a few. The challenges are many to do this kind of work. We've lost funding. We had our application pulled by the Missouri Arts Council for political reasons. I'm not going to go too far into it, but it impacted our youth initiative, actually, after 9 years of funding. So we lost that funding. We have funding that's on hold for grants we've applied for, both from the National Endowment for the Arts and from the Midwest Arts Alliance, because it's NEA money and the Trump administration has not released it, so the funds can't be distributed. That's really frustrating, because you're just in limbo. It's not a no, it's just it's nothing. So the current political climate and the anti-DEI sentiment of, both our federal and state government is impacting us. It's also impacting private funders too, who are pulling back. So we have challenges. They're not insurmountable, because we'll never give up until they make us give up. But also, equity in arts funding as a grassroots organization is always a challenge because we know that 60% of arts philanthropy goes to 2% of cultural institutions nationally. And that's tough for those of us small ones. I'm in a group called we call ourselves the Tiny EDs, and we're all grassroots arts organizations. We meet once a month for coffee. We call it biscuits and bitchin'. But you know, we all have the same challenges, all of us. We all have these challenges are shared by all of the grassroots arts organizations in the community, but we're gonna keep going. But we're not gonna compromise our values or change our work to get funding. That's one thing we won't do. We won't, so. So here's a little call to action as I wrap up for all of you, is to support grassroots arts organizations in St. Louis. There's so many of them. A Call to Conscience, St. Louis Artworks, Artists First, Soul Siren Playhouse, the Action Art Collaborative. There's many more. Those are just a few who are friends of ours. We all need, of course we need your money. We all need your money. But we also need people's expertise. We need help with accounting, help with bookkeeping, legal assistance. We need audience. We need you to show up and support us the way that the community all supports the Rep and Opera Theater and the bigger organizations. We need space. We need space for rehearsal. We need space for performance. We especially need space for rehearsal that is low cost to us and available to us. We need board members. If someone asks you to be on their board, I know it's a big commitment, but oh, it's gold. It's gold to us who are small to have wonderful board members. We have some of our wonderful Bread and Roses board members here today. And I appreciate you being here. And we also need your voice. We just need your voice. We need people standing up for organizations, especially who work in the social justice realm, because it's not easy right now. It's gonna get harder. The work's gonna get harder, and more important, as we continue. It's only been 6 months. We don't know how long to go, right? And we're gonna keep advocating for working people to have access to creativity, to the right to make things that reflect their lived experiences, and to be part of a creative community that empowers them and educates others. And that's our charge, and I'm just gonna leave this quote up from my favorite writer, Adrienne Marie Brown. If you haven't read her book, Emergent Strategies, or listened to her podcast, How to Survive the End of the World, she's brilliant. But I think that quote is really important in our times right now. I'll stick around if you wanna know more about Bread and Roses. And I'm also, after I give you a minute to read that quote, this is how to find us. You can scan that QR code to our website. That's my email. Actually, it goes to my email, info@breadandrosesmo.org. And we're on Facebook and Instagram. We are not on X, so don't even look. And thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I ran over, but I appreciate the opportunity so much. So, thank you.
Thank you so much again for your time and your knowledge. And I believe you said that Joan wasn't able to make it. We wish her the best, and thank you for all that you've done, Joan. So, the Welcome Team will now take up a collection to support the work of the Ethical Society. While many in our community give online or through their annual pledge, we want to offer special thanks to those who give through our weekly collection baskets. Every contribution of any size helps sustain our programs, our people, and our shared mission. If you'd like to give today, you can also use the QR code on the screen behind me to place a donation in the baskets being passed around. You can also donate anytime at ethicalstl.org/donate. If you're visiting today and you're interested in learning more about membership, we invite you to stop by the Visitors Connect table downstairs after platform. We'd love to meet you. And I do have a couple announcements that I got to get through real quick. So we've got, you can help back to school students. You know how important notebooks, pens, and other resources can be for school success. On July 29th this year, Ethical Good Deeders will be stuffing kids' backpacks with free supplies for the back to school season, which begins in August. We'll be working with KidsMart, which annually supports 90,000 pre-K to 12th grade students in the St. Louis region. This is school prep prime time, so we can use a lot of helpers. You'll get extra karma credit because we are starting early in the day to avoid the St. Louis heat and humidity. Carpool from Ethical Parking Lot at 7:30 a.m. or drive yourself to the Maryland Heights headquarters at 8 a.m. We'll be done by 11. And this is going to be on July 29th. I already said that. Cool. Closed-toed shoes. Make sure you protect your toesies. I'm sorry? Thank you. So ready to sign up. Sign up directly with KidsMart. If you want to carpool or you have any questions, contact Brenda Otterson or Stephanie Segala. The email addresses were scratched out. Do you want me to still read those? All right, so contact them. And then our last announcement is to donate to our diaper drive. The Ethical Society is collecting diapers to support local families served by the International Institute of St. Louis. Donations can be dropped off in the box at the bottom of the stairs. The drive is going through August 3rd. All diaper sizes are welcome because even the tiniest humans can make the biggest messes. All right. Let's welcome Claire back to the stage for her final musical selection, as well as an invitation to think about the value of belonging on purpose.
As I begin the final song today, I'm going to invite you to hold a specific question in your mind. What about ethical society membership is truly valuable to you? It could be something tangible. It could be like childcare or rental discounts or the right to vote and shape the future of the community. Or it could be something more intangible, like friendships or discussions with like-minded people, or maybe the chance to live out your ethics through service. Take a moment to notice what rises up for you as you think about that question as I begin Rise by Ariana Bela. I will rise with all my daughters. I will rise against my foes. I will rise with all the mothers. I will carry all their woes. I will rise to fight for freedom. I will rise though faced with fears. I will rise against all hatred while my eyes are veiled in tears. I will rise for religious freedom, for a rich diversity. I will rise for all the weary, for each lonely refugee. I will work for all our women who deserve equal pay. I will work for all our children who await a better day. Sisters, oh, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh, stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. Now, I want to stop and give us a chance to let those thoughts grow from earlier. Why is membership valuable to you? If you'd like, I'm going to invite you to turn to a neighbor, and share what came to mind. Now, if you'd rather just stay quiet and reflect on your own, you can do that. You could maybe jot some words down or just hold it in your mind. Both ways are welcome. I'm going to give you a minute or two to reflect with a neighbor or discuss on your own. Thanks for taking some time to share with a neighbor or maybe just thinking on your own. Before you head to coffee today, I'm going to invite you to write down what you thought about on one of the colored pieces of paper on the welcome table. You can write down as many ideas as you want and write them as big as you possibly can. You're going to put them on the green bucket. It's got pumpkins all over it. Thanks for engaging and collaborating today. If you want to close out platform by singing the main refrain of the song with me, you're welcome to do so in just a second. I will rise for love and justice, that we may see a better day. I will rise in peace and service for a world in disarray. I will rise to build up bridges for this broken world we see. I will tear down walls between us that divide you and me. Brothers all, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh, stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. I will rise.
Beautiful as always. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you all for being here today, for showing up for yourselves and for one another. I hope today's platform provided insight, connection, and inspiration. After platform, we invite you to continue being in community with us. We have coffee and conversation in the Becker room downstairs. If you're new, just follow the crowd and use the elevator or the stairs just through those doorways. If today's platform sparks something for you and you'd like to talk about it more, visit our Continue the Conversation table, clearly marked with signage. Folks gathered there are open to talk about and reflect on the topic together. However you choose to spend your time after platform, we're grateful to share this space with you. Take good care, and we hope to see you again soon.